Hey everybody, welcome back. In this second video, we're going to cover two aspects, two new things that can be used in your games, and one that you will need to use in your individual game project for doing your UX testing, where we'll do some data collection, and then that can also be used to actually load data if you wanted to go to that route. So without further ado, we're going to the other thing that that I'm going to do, and I'm going to start off with this, is we're going to create a mirror. It's kind of a cool effect in the game. So let's go ahead and crack through that. To set that up, we're going to go ahead and create 3D object cube. We need just a wall to put our mirror on. So we'll just call this wall, and then let's just make it 4 by 5. We'll raise that up so it's actually resting on the floor. Oh, 5, not 8. That looks better. And then about there, that looks all right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to also create a 3D object. We're going to do a plane. Remember, with planes, they have one side that you have a visual texture on. The other one is see-through, so it's like a one-way mirror. We want to only use, or we're going to be focusing on using this side here. So we're going to go ahead and set our x to -90, make it nice and square, and then we're going to shrink the scale down because right now it is way bigger than our wall. So we'll just shrink it to about that, and roughly let's just call it for ease 0.3 and 0.5. I think that'll work. Well, maybe we'll do this 0.4. 0.45. Does not have to be perfect. And then you want to just bring this out enough so you can just see it poking through. Does not need to be out much. And of course, if you don't know already, I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to this stuff. I do my best to not stress about it, but I get it. Try and get it nice. And so with that now on our wall, we're going to go ahead and drag that and child it to the wall. And we can change this from plane to mirror because this is what actually our mirror is going to be. Okay, so to create a mirror, you can create a reflective material, but it doesn't reflect the surrounding. You need to actually create a mirror for that. And to do that, you actually are doing it by using a camera. So to our wall, we're going to select it, we're going to right click, and we're going to select camera. Camera is currently facing away from the mirror, so we want to go ahead and rotate that around 180, I guess, in the Y. And then we'll dial in where it's going to be in a bit, but we want to make sure that it is facing the player, right? Facing in the direction the mirror is going to be facing. Otherwise, you'd be creating like a TV screen, which is another cool effect you can do with this. But for this one, we are just going to be putting it as a mirror. All right, so with the mirror, what we're going to do is we're going to come into our materials. I'm going to create a new folder, and we're going to call this, what is it? We need to call it we're creating a render texture. So we're going to name this render texture. And then within here, we're going to create a new material. And we want rendering, so it's under rendering. And we want render texture. So we'll call that, and we'll just call this RT mirror for render texture, which is great. That's what we need to do with that. And so now what we can do is with our camera, first thing we want to do is click off the audio listener. Remember, in your scene, you can have one audio listener only. So we're going to turn that off here. And then if your output is closed, go ahead and open it. You'll see output texture and target display. Target display is going to be, um, this would be like if you have multiple screens and you're making something to go across like 3, 4, 5 different displays, you can go up to 8 and add 8 different displays and 8 cameras that are grabbing different specific spots. We don't want that. We're going to play the attach an output texture. So we're going to drag our RT mirror to here. So now it gets rid of that. Target eye is both. So we're capturing what it is. And then if we kick back on RT mirror, you can actually see the image of what we are capturing, which is what we want, and we now want to put this on the mirror. So what we're going to do is we're just going to drag RT mirror, our render texture, to our mirror. It's going to create its own material. It's going to create this one here where you could actually come in and make some changes to it if you wanted to. I'm not going to play with that. It's not necessary. But the big thing is, as you can see, we're upside down. Depending upon what you're making, maybe that's what you want to do. For this, we don't want it to be that way. So on our mirror, we're just going to go ahead and in the Z, switch this to negative, and that's going to flip it right side up for us. And then you can dial in your camera if you want. We can move this back to right after it goes through. We can bump this down just a little bit, move it to a little bit more kind of eye height for our character. And then if we save it, we can hit play. Our rotation's too slow. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to move our movement speed to 10. I'm actually going to make our rotation speed 40, just be able to move a little bit quicker in our testing mode. All right, and now, oh, so much better. With this, you can see what we're doing is reflected in the mirror, including shooting. Everything is here. Everything is working how we want it to work. If we felt that this mirror was not set up exactly right, we could go ahead and change that the camera position a little bit just to dial in, make it a little bit better. But this is definitely what we're looking for. So that's a quick, easy way to make a mirror, or the way to make a mirror. It's quick and easy. So cool. With that, we're going to move on to data saving. This gets a bit more complicated. So bear with me. It's been a hot minute since I've done it, but we're going to get through this. So what we're going to do, let me bring my scripts back in, the ones that we've set up previously. And I'm going to go ahead and let's minimize that. We don't need it. I'm going to go ahead and create another empty game object. We could put this in our game controller, but I'm going to actually just create a data controller game object. Just keep it all there and nice. And then let's create a script. We're going to create a couple scripts to go in here. We're going to create a new script. It's going to be a mono behavior. And we're going to call this, let's call it user profile data. This is what's going to store all of our user data here. It's just going to be a one-stop shop for where everything is. And so we're going to go ahead, let's open this up. For this, let's just go ahead. All we're doing is just saving some data. So let's go ahead and we're going to want each of these to be public. You could create these like as functions if we wanted to go there. It's really not a big deal for that. So we're just going to create these as public. Let's do a public integer shots fired. Let's just track how many times the player shoots the gun. This could be great for like user testing, right? You want to just see how often they're shooting. You know, did they shoot like 500,000 times where, you know, there's one enemy and it only takes 2 shots to kill it, right? That's going to maybe tell you something. Either they're just like shooting the gun, or they're really bad at aim, or the boss moves too fast, whatever it is. And then the other part of this is if you wanted to have them continue, we can actually bring that data back in. So we're just going to set this up to track number of shots fired. So to do that, we're going to also, here in our player controller, when we're going to add to our shooting where we had our game controller, we're going to also put data controller here. And then we're going to do the same thing we did with our game controller. So data controller is equal to game object find, and I never trust my typing, so I'm just going to go in and highlight it, copy it, and paste that in here so that I know for 100% certainty that it is typed in incorrect. All right. And so with that, what we can do now, and when we shoot the gun, right, we can only shoot the gun if it is false, is shooting is false, so it's never going to have multiple attempts here. So we can do data controller dot get component user profile data shots fired plus equals 1. So now every time you shoot the gun, it's going to update our user profile in the number of shots we fired. So pull that trigger, goes to 1. Pull it again, it goes to 2. So on and so forth. All right. And so with that, now we've got some data to save, which is great. The next thing that we need to do actually, and this is not going to be a mono behavior, this is just going to be a script that's going to be used to compile our data for saving. And so we're going to create another script. This can actually be scripting. Let's just do, we can do an empty C# script, that's fine. And we're going to call it let's just call it data. We're just gonna, that's what we're gonna call it. Let's call it data processing actually. That way, because this is basically the one it's used for. It's used for processing the data. We are going to, obviously using the Unity engine, let's add, I can't remember if these are important or not, so we're not gonna risk it. I believe they're important. Collections, and using system collections dot generic. That just covers our basis. In here, we're going to create another public integer. We can still just call this shots fired. It's fine. It's in a different one. Shots fired. This is basically just used to put our data together correctly. And so we're going to create another public, and we're going to call this data processing. This is the function that's within here. It's running it. And we're just doing an integer, shots fired. And when we do that, we're just going to say that this script's shot fired is equal to shot fired that's coming in through the data processing. So we're just connecting whatever data is coming in to now this info here. We can save that. This does not need to get attached anywhere, but the user profile data does. So we're just going to go ahead and attach user profile data here to our data controller, which is great. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to add one more script, create mono behavior, and we're going to call this save JSON data. We're going to handle this as a JSON. The data we're going to parse in and out. Could bring it in as a text file. I feel that you can do a little bit more, especially as your data gets bigger, more with the JSON. For this, we need to, because we're saving, we need to make sure we're using system.io so that we're able to use the input-output system. And we're going to, because it's consistent, we don't need to do that. So we're gonna, let's just save this right now. To make life easy, we're gonna go ahead and into our data controller, we're going to also add our save JSON data. That way we can just reference the user profile data script a little easier. We don't need to set up anything extra for that. All right, so now what we want to do in here is a lot of fun things. We are going to, we need to get a reference to this data processing because we're going to use that for this to set up how it looks. So we're going to do a private data processing is, I'm just going to do lowercase data processing. Oh, not that style. Perfect. That's going to give that. The other thing that we need to do is we need to set up a private string and the pathway to where we're going to save our data. And so we can just set this up as a technically an empty string. So that will give us the info there. All right, and let's go ahead. After start, we're going to go ahead and do a new function. We're going to call it set path. So private void set path. Right, we need to set where this is going. So path is going to equal application, which is starting to do. We don't want data path completely. We want application dot persistent data path. This is going to put this data path basically goes to the data folder in your actual built game. So the only way to actually save data is to play a built game. You cannot test it. So the only way to test it is to build it and run it and then go and look in that folder. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to do, so there's a couple different ways to do this. If we were just building this for saving something for UX testing, right? We only care about the data for that moment in time. We're never going to load it again. We're just going to be storing it for later data analysis, right? So what I would do in that situation is we're going to do this, and then we're going to add to this system.date time dot utc now dot to local time dot to string, and our string we want is capital M dash D Y, capital H's, lowercase m's. So this is going to save this as month, day, year, hour, and minute. And then we can attach this as a .json. So this would be one of the options, right? So if we're just interested in that, this is how we do it. I'm going to just leave this here, but I'm going to comment it out. What we're going to do in this case, because we're going to actually set this one up for pulling the data, you could end up doing both, and we'll get to that in a later video. But for right now, we're going to do path equals application. We're still going to do persistent data path, but we're just going to do plus game data, game save data dot JSON. So this is just going to save it for this one usage rather than for, or this is going to save it for multiple uses rather than just for the one. Okay, so that's going to set our path, which has that happening. So we want to, now in our start, we want to set path. You know what, it's going to bother me. I'm going to switch this to a capital P. Got to camel case it as much as I can. It's hard coded in my brain. All right, so we've got that in there. And now we want to go ahead and create the data to save. So we're going to create a new, we're going to do this after update. Private, that's not how you suppose private void create data to save. And with this, we're going to reach out to our data processing. So data processing equals new. Now we could capitalize data processing because that's where we have it here, right? That's what we're calling out to this. And so we are going to, so with this, any data that we pass in, we don't have to refer to it as shots fired. We are just, it knows the order it's coming in at. And that's really important. This has to be sent in the same order that this is asking for it. Otherwise, you're going to put data where it doesn't belong, and it's going to maybe be different data types, right? If you're trying to pass an integer into a Boolean, bad things are going to happen. So, so with this, we're going to come here. I'm going to give some space. You can do this; it's perfectly fine. And we're going to do get component. And we are going to get it from our user profile data. And we are going to get our shots fired. And we don't need that. We just need a this and then a that. All right. The only reason I did it this way, you could do it as one line. It becomes, if you're saving lots of data, it becomes really easy to then do a comma and go down to the next line. Only use the comma to add more if you already have multiple here listed, right? Everything is comma separated. If I put a comma there, it's now saying, oh, you're passing two pieces of data where this only supports one, right? So now we have that there. So we want to, we're getting ready for this. Let's go ahead. Let's just take the moment and do this. So on update, we're going to do if, we're going to kill two birds with one stone. So if input dot get key down, we're going to go key code escape, right? So if you press the escape button, we're going to do two things. We are going to save our data, and we're going to exit the game. We're going to close out completely. So with that, we're going to do, I'm going to type the code in first for killing it. We're going to, actually, we want to make sure we have time. So we're going to create a quick coroutine. Just to make sure we provide enough time for our data to get saved. We don't want to actually quit the application before the data is finished saving. So we're going to do IE numerator retor exit pause. we're going to do yield return new wait 4 seconds, and we'll wait 2 seconds. And then when that happens, we are going to application dot quit. So this will be an easy way for now, rather than having to alt tab and then close out the app that way. This will just kill it once we get to that point. So we're going to I'm going to give myself space for the rest of the code in there on when we press escape, but then we'll do start coroutine quit or exit pause. So once it runs everything else, it's going to start that coroutine, making sure it gives us plenty of time to actually save the data before it closes out. So once this happens, we are going to go ahead and we want to create the data to save, right? We want to make sure that that is getting run. And then let's go ahead and save that data. So we're going to go ahead and create private void save data. So now we can come up here, and so once we've done the create data, we can do the save data, and then we'll start that coroutine. In save data, what we're going to do is we're going to create a temporary string. This is how a JSON is saved, so it's the equivalent of a string. So we're going to call it JSON, and then we're going to call the JSON utility .toJSON, and we are passing through this our data processing, lowercase d. This is going to come in, and it's going to be like, what are the shots fired that you've done? Let's grab all the data from data processing, and we're going to kick it out in a string of data. So we need to start out with that. Basically, we're grabbing the information from that data processing, or actually we're using data processing to process our user profile data, right? We have in here, we've gone through and we created the data, right? We've updated everything in the data processing, and then we're going to kick it back out the other way. So we're going to build that, and then we're going to use stream writer we're going to call it a writer equals a new stream writer, and that stream writer is going to be like it's set here. It's going to go and call our pathway, right? It is going to be saving it to this spot. We're not going to worry about it at this point, but we could go ahead and check and see if this already exists. If it already exists, then you're going to go ahead and save it. You're just going to call that pathway versus creating a new one. We're not going to worry about that right now, but that is also a ability to do that, especially if you are going to constantly be saving data to it. That's the way I want it to go. All right, and then we'll do writer dot write with a capital write, and we're writing our JSON data, and then we always want to close it. We want to make sure we turn this off. And so with that, then it would actually quit our game. All right, so with this, we've got everything here for us to be able to do this. So so if we play this, it's not going to matter. This is only now going to affect when we actually build the game. So we're going to go File, Build Properties. Remember, we want to make sure that our scenes list shows the scene that we've got. All of this is fine. And we're building for Windows. That's great. So we're going to hit build. In here, I'm going to create a new folder so it's easy to send over wherever it is. I'm going to, for consistently see and showing it, collect build. That way I know that this is where the entire folder that I need to send to myself if I was turning this in. So I'm going to select that folder. It's going to go ahead and build it. I'm going to go ahead and open up a new File Explorer window. I will get that ready to show you in just a minute. Gotta remember where I saved that folder. It always takes a moment. First time you save is always going to be the longest one. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pause. You don't have to watch all this while I find the folder. Well, I couldn't find it, but it pulled it up for me, which is great. So if we come to our project folder that we've got, now you can see my Gluck build folder. If I go into that, you'll see we've got the exe here, which is fabulous. All right, now we're going to go ahead and play this. And I'm going to shoot 1, 2, 3 times, and then I'm going to hit escape, and 2 seconds later it closes. Awesome, fabulous, right? Now, where the hell did that go, right? So we played it here, but it's not being stored here. We need to, this PC, I'm going to go ahead and I should be able to open this in a new window, which I can do. Look at how full all my drives are. If we go to our C drive, we want, I'm going to probably get this wrong, so we're going to attempt to find it on the first drive. User, go to the user it's under, and then we want to, I believe it's app data. If you do not see app data, you need to go up and under view, you need to have hidden items. And then we want local. And now if we look for, should be GIMM 350. Let's see here. Let's go by date modified. It should be about. All right. Let me find. It should be. Let me find this without you having to sit through it. All right, I found it. It gets really confusing. So in your app data, it's actually local low instead of local. So local low. And then you would want to go by the name of the company that's listed. So let's look at that real quick. So in our project settings, under player, you can set a company name and a product name, right? So this is where company name, mine company name for it is Laughing Lance Studios. Product name can just stay that. And so if I saved this, it would then save it as the company name. But it's been our default, right? So default, not that one. No, that is what I want. Local low. So under default company, if you have not changed yours, your default company is where it's going to be under. And then you look and find the folder that is tied to the product name. So GIMM 350 2025. And so now if I come in here, here is that file that we've got. And so I'm going to cross my fingers. I have not checked. I have not paused. I have not done anything. When I open this, it should say 3. And there we go. Awesome. Shots fired 3. So we are getting that data through, which is absolutely fabulous, right? So this is great if we're saving it, we're doing UX testing. We can tie this to that participant, and we have all of that hard data that we can analyze. So, woohoo, we've got that. Okay, so now we want to get that data back out, right? This is great and all, but what if we need to get that data back out? We're saving it, and the player only has so much data that they actually or they only have so much ammo, right? So we need to know how many shots they fired, because we don't want to just start them at a full amount of ammo if they're starting halfway through the game and they've shot half of them, right? So we're going to go ahead and now load that data in. So how do we do that? That's a great question. Let's answer it. That's not what I want, although we'll save that open for later. We want this. Hold on. Let's just make my life easier. Open back up. All right. So now we want to load it. Okay. So we've got our saved JSON data. We're going to now create one more script. Create mono behavior script. We're going to call this recall. Could be load. We'll call it recall JSON data. This is going to get added to our data controller once it finishes thinking. Fabulous. So we'll open up our recall. We want to make sure with this that we are making sure, as previously, using system.io, right? We're getting data in and out. And with this, like here, we want to go ahead. We are going to make a connection again to private data processing, and once again we'll do lowercase data processing. We need to once again private string path, because we need to make sure that we set up the exact correct pathway. Oops, that's not a colon, it's a semicolon. That's an L. That is it. There we go. We need all that. Okay, so on the void start happens literally right before the first execution of the update. The mono behavior gets created. Technically some other stuff can happen in there, and then right before that start goes off. That's fabulous, but that's not going to help us in all situations. like the one that we're in at the moment. So we're going to actually delete our start, and we're going to actually do a private void on enable. On enable happens the moment that this script is recognized. So it just, boom, happens. And that's what we want for loading data, right? We want that data to load before anything else could potentially happen. And so we are going to go ahead and we are going to set our path again. Let's just go ahead and we'll just add it in here. Private void set path. Did it the same way. Set path. And our path is going to, you know, we'll just make life easy. We'll just go ahead and copy this same exact code because it needs to be exact. If it's not there, then bad things are going to happen. It's not going to find it, right? So we need to set that path. And so on enable, we want to run set path. We need to set what the path is. And then we want to check and see if there's anything there. Because if there's no data there, we don't need to load anything. So if file.exists, right, we want to just see, does it exist? And we're checking the path. So does this pathway to this JSON exist? If so, awesome. If not, we don't really give a shit. And so we're going to, we don't need an on update, right? Nothing on update is happening. Everything's going to happen on this on enable. And so we'll do a private void load data, right? So if there's something there, we're going to load our data. So we can add our load data call here and grab it that way. All right. And now we want to go ahead and stream reader instead of writer. Reader equals new stream reader path. We're going to, like we did before, string of a JSON, right? That's what we've got. And we're going to reader read to the end. We want to read the whole thing. All right, and then we're going to put this into what we're calling we want to connect this through. And so we're going to, we're going to connect this through. All right, we're going to go ahead and use our data processing, right? Because we're getting this data from a JSON that's in that same format as our data processing, right? And so what we're going to do with this data processing equals JSON utility again, dot from the JSON this time, right, rather than to the JSON. And we're going to connect this to save JSON. No. We won't user pro. Believe this is right. Let me just check my notes. No, so we're gonna do. Yep, I was right and wrong at the same time. From JSON accessibility. Or no, I'm sorry. From data processing from the JSON. Okay. My notes are for based on something else, so I'm changing it up a little bit for this one. So data processing is coming from here. It's from the JSON. We're once again using that to process now the JSON, right? Because the data is coming in this format. And so once we have that, we're going to I'm going to do this here as one last other one. We're going to do private void save imported data. And so now we can call our save imported data function. And for here, we are going to set, so what it's doing is it's putting all the information that's coming from the JSON into our data processing, right? It's coming through and it's adding what the shots fired are. So now what we can do is we can do get component, right? So let me just show you where I'm going with this. Our data controller has our user profile data. So what we want is user profile data, get component user profile data, and it's shots fired dot shots fired is equal to data processing dot shots fired and that should do it for us. Okay. We're not saving it as a string, so that should be perfectly good. Okay, so this is great, yay! The problem is once again you only know this when you're playing the game. So we're going to real quick add on to our player. Actually, we can just do. Let's go ahead and add to let's add a really super basic UI to this. We'll add in text mesh pro. When you do that, it's going to ask you to import the essentials. We want to do that. It takes just a moment to do it. We do not need the example, so that's fine. So that's going to give us access to that. Once we have that, now we have, in this case, we're just going to do a world text. We're going to zoom out. That's huge. We don't need it there. We want it in the center anyway. We'll just kind of put it, give or take here, over the player's head. We're going to go center that text. That way I can put it like directly over the player. Okay, and so what we want is this is going to start out, new text is going to start out as a 0, right? Because that's how many shots have been fired. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to modify a couple pieces of code to represent this. So if the file path exists, actually we got to do this. We're going to add a serialized field, private, game text mesh pro UGUI shot text. So then if the path doesn't exist, right, else, we're shooting from the hip on this one. I believe we're right on this. Shot text dot text equals 0. Okay, so that should, when we boot up the game, if there is not currently already shots fired, it's going to put a 0. Otherwise, then at the very end of this, we want to go ahead and we'll do the same thing basically. Shot text dot text equals get component user profile data dot shots fired to string. So this is going to then update that to whatever our shots fired text is. And that should do it code-wise. Let us go in and then in our data controller, we have our shot text. We just need to set this as that text. We could call this shot counter so that we know exactly what it is. That's crazy. Okay. So now, once again, what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and file, build profiles, everything is here. We're going to just go ahead and build it again. I'm going to go ahead and select the same folder, which is just going to rewrite everything that's in there, which is great. And we've changed our company, so we'll have a different folder to look under, which is perfectly fine. So now, if everything went according to plan, when we open up and run our script, or our exe, this should say, oh, I meant to do that. It should say 0, and it says 0. It's great. But I'm going to not hit escape on this one. I'm just going to close it real quick because I just realized we left one thing out of one of our scripts. So let's go ahead and real quick on our player controller, we're going to, that's in data controller, so we're going to do the same basic thing here. I'm going to grab, we need the using TM Pro. Just going to copy and bring that over. And then in shooting, we're going to do the, I like to put it up and keep them all together. Private, nope, not that one. Text, mesh, pro, UGUI. And this is going to be shots counter. That's fine. And so what we want to do is right after here, we're going to do shot counter dot text is equal to, I'll make once again my life easy and copy that down. Why are you not dot to string? So why are you having a problem? So because this obviously text is string, so we need to translate that integer to a string. That's going to cover that. Let's go ahead and save it. We'll go ahead and save again, and then we'll build it. Once again, putting it in the same spot. The nice thing is once you build it that first time, it is much, much faster to build every other time. So we've got our build folder. So now we're going to open it up. We're at 0. We're not. Let's see here. Why are we having an issue? Let me troubleshoot this real quick. I'll be back once I have an answer. As soon as I paused it, I realized what it was. So in player, we forgot to hook up our TextMesh Pro canvas spot. So shots counter needs to go to shots counter. Now we can save. Now we can go ahead and profile, build it, put it in the folder. Now we shouldn't have a problem. There we go. Shooting it, that counter goes up. We're at 4. We're going to go ahead and hit escape. Now it's going to save that data, which if you remember, so now at this point, we've got our data here. It's no longer default company. So if we come back to local low, I see that Laughing Lens Studios is here. Can come in. All right, I've got a couple things in here. GIMM 350, and now our JSON should show shots fired 4, which is correct. And now, when we move this one out of the way, restart our game, that should be set to 4, and that's what we get. So, with this, now you're able to save data in between game sessions. There's almost no limit to what you can save. You can save anything, really. You know, if you want to track where the player was, how long did it take them to complete a level, how long did it take to do a task, what commands did they enter, whatever. You can really track almost anything that your player does in that game. Here you can find out, track what enemies killed your player, whatever it is. There's lots of data that you can save. And now whether that is data that you are just using for UX testing purposes, right? Like in this case, this could really just be how many times did you fire the gun in the game, which is great data, or how long did it take you to actually complete the level. All that stuff is great for the UX testing. Things like shots fired or bullets fired, things that you think of that you'd want to save persistent between times of the person playing. So with this, I'm going to end the video here. We've set up TextMesh Pro, so we've just a super basic UI, but got that working. We've got a mirror working, and we've got saving and recalling the data. So go ahead and work through this video. You should be working through it at this point. And then I will see you in class soon.